On March 11, 1961, Iceland and the UK came to an agreement to resolve a dispute over Iceland's exclusive fishery limit. The result was a compromissory treaty wherein the UK agreed to accept Iceland's 12 nautical mile exclusive fishery zone, and Iceland agreed to have any dispute concerning Icelandic fishery jurisdiction beyond the 12-mile limit to be referred to the International Court of Justice. On July 17, 1971, Iceland issued a policy statement that they were terminating the 1961 treaty and extending their fishery jurisdiction from 12 to 50 nautical miles effective September 1, 1972. This prompted the UK to file an application before the ICJ on April 14, 1972. The ICJ issued an order indicating interim measures of protection, which were to remain in place until a final judgment was reached on the case. The issue the court had to decide upon was whether there needs to be a radical transformation of the extent of the obligations on each state in order for there to be a change of circumstances that would give grounds for invoking a revision or termination of the treaty as Iceland was proposing.
The United Kingdom submitted a claim to the ICJ stating that there was no foundation in international law for the claim by Iceland to be entitled to extend its fisheries jurisdiction by establishing a zone of exclusive fisheries jurisdiction extending to 50 nautical miles. The United Kingdom also had questions concerning the conservation of fish stocks, which was Iceland's claim used to justify that there had been a radical change of circumstances, and this warranted an extension of the jurisdiction from 12 to 50 nautical miles, which effectively terminated the treaty. The United Kingdom's memorial on the merits were 4 claims which were submitted to the ICJ to be judged upon. The first were that the claims by Iceland to be entitled to a zone of exclusive fisheries jurisdiction extending to 50 nautical miles from the baseline around the coast was without foundation in international law. Number 2, Iceland was not entitled unilaterally to assert exclusive fisheries jurisdiction beyond the limits agreed to in the treaty. Number 3, Iceland is not entitled to unilaterally exclude British fishing vessels from the area of the high seas beyond the limits agreed to in the treaty. Number 4, to the extent that a need to extend exclusive fisheries jurisdiction be asserted on conservation ground, Iceland and the United Kingdom are under a duty to examine together and in good faith the existence of said.
Iceland initially stated that it would not confer jurisdiction to the ICJ on those matters because they did not have jurisdiction. But on February 2, 1973, the court found that it did in fact have jurisdiction. Iceland had not taken part in any phase of the proceedings, and on the 29th of May 1972, the government of Iceland informed the court that it regarded the treaty terminated because of the change of circumstances. The government of Iceland did not appear before the court at any time nor file any pleadings because it maintained its stance that the court lacked jurisdiction. In considering Iceland's absence from all of the proceedings, the court was confronted with a difficult decision in balancing 2 contradictory legislative articles, Article 53, paragraphs 1 and 2. Paragraph 1 states that if one party fails to defend its case, the court may rule in favor of the other party, whereas paragraph 2 states that the court must first satisfy that the claim is well-founded in fact and law. The court held that it had performed its jurisprudence and considered all relevant rules of law and was therefore able to render a verdict. The court reached its judgment and held that changes in circumstances on the obligations of each state must be radical. The change of circumstances alleged by Iceland were found not to reach the threshold of radical change based on changed circumstances since the implementation of the original treaty, meaning there was no grounds for terminating the treaty.